into September 2024 with the Lovelocks of Sunninghill. Rough cut photo trials. And as I always say, they will be rough cut. I'll start with a standard introduction. Where we live, at 22 Armitage Court in Sunninghill, with warning signs about guard cats. You may or may not see one. This is the garden sculpture that June got me for a birthday present several years ago. There's the oak tree and back box. I think one of the photo trails shows the cats exploring it. And here's the robot boat. Now, just for shooting this clip, this is the transatlantic robot boat, makes an attempt every year. And just for shooting this clip, I've taken the lid off. There's the lid. And I plugged in the text-to-speech, which is normally just used for testing on Bray Lake, just so that you can see the thing working. And what a mess I've got to clear up, because the photo trails show we've got a power problem. We haven't diagnosed whether it's a wiring mistake I've made or one of the failures of one of the components like a battery. Anyhow, you can see the mess of it. And what I'll do is I'll switch it off. This duplicated switch is here, so you hear it start up.
Snoopy's Pickaxe 28X2 GPS only autopilot. Software version Romeo. Last update 6th of December 2017.
Yes, so it hasn't been changed in terms of the software since December 2017. And now it's steering to the default waypoint, which is on Bray Lake, several miles away. So that's it, and that's the important guy. Snoopy, the Viking, and this boat has survived quite a few attempts already. So rather more time than I should on that, and hopefully it won't rain. I'll pop it around that way. It's not easy to hold the camera and do that. Anyhow, that'll be put back together right later. So down the front drive. Yes, this is June's car. Promotion of the website gpss.co.uk. That was a business decades ago and is now just hobbies like the robot boat and charitable causes. One of the trackers is in there being tested, and yes, the bicycle, may get a chance to ride that sometime. And cat fort, that was done, 2 of them with armed mice. Those were done, must be a couple of years ago now. And cut through here, this is the camper that was used to take Snoopy's robot boat down to the coast. And there's the battle damage. June said Robin did it. Robin said the wall did it, but the wall is okay. Now, before we go into the house, I have to point out some health and safety things, and I must stress that anything I say are of course jokes, because people are saying, oh, you shouldn't go saying things like that. So first thing is cameras. Yes, that's been there for a while. Things like no trespassing, violators will be shot, survivors will be shot again. Yeah, there's one camera. There's cameras everywhere. Some don't work. Do not disturb. I'm disturbed enough already. That's my study through there. And perhaps this sign is the most important, because it's not just cameras, it's water squirters. Home of mad ex-NATO scientist Robin Lovelock. Beware of web cameras and water squirters loaded with water, paint, acid, DNA tracer or nerve agent. Robin would not be mad enough to test these. Or would he? Just a joke. Yes, other stuff here would have appeared in other videos. I've got to top up those peanuts. That peanut feeder is to discourage birds from going onto the ground for the peanuts. because that's really for the foxes and other wildlife that come. And probably got to top it up. Yes, it'll last for a few days yet. That's another camera. Normally that would be on the wall, but down low it can see wildlife coming, like the squirrels or foxes or whatever. Right, enough of that. Into the house. I think it's safe. And now, one of the reasons I put these videos together, apart from an aid to my memory, is saves time if somebody might be able to help us. For example, clearing up the house. Now, nothing really has been done here in terms of clearing it up. I'll point this out. This is a test rig to test a servo of a particular brand and batch to death by leaving it running. So another autopilot just used for that purpose. So that is waggling the servo continuously. Various odds and ends there. Those are the old solar panels ripped off the boat, which I need to dump in the right place. There's a load of spare ones. Lots of junk. Yes, robot boats, including Alexis sailing saucer. Bright idea from Russia. A few years ago now. Right, now this won't be a long tour, you'll be glad to know. And of course there's been, most of the videos have a similar tour, but you see things have changed. So yes, there's the telescope. I did the optics when I was still at school. No work done on that. Down the garden, grass needs to be cut. That's an easy job. Yeah, probably people think, oh yes, property maintenance. There's a lot more to it than just cutting lawns. That's probably about 20 minutes work, including getting the lawnmower out. So there you are, there's a lawnmower. There's other tools there. And the main strategy, if you call it that, over the last few years has been creating space, and particularly not just the laboratory. We haven't actually done the process of putting things in the right place yet, but at some stage we're starting to put cupboards and things there. We already had the drawers, but I like the idea of things being visible, because then yes, you can put labels on drawers, but if we come around here, this is where progress has been made over the last few months. So any tool you can think of, putting things in pretty well the same place. So come in here, yes, there's solar powered lighting, and there's also electricity laid on. So we're gradually making background progress here. But for example, drills. So the drills are there. Still got to rearrange things, but every now and again you make a little bit of progress. So yes, hammers and files, spanners, spare space there for more stuff, and fairly recent brushes there, and then little places so you can put screws. It's got some empty things there. Right, so that's, yes, a bit of a wilderness out there. That goes back through over there. So this is of course into September now. There's other things we could have shown you. I suppose, oh yes, one thing that has figured, the gunnerer. We've only had one of those managed to come up in the last few years, and it's making progress. But down the end here, others that we bought legally on eBay don't seem to have come up. So yes, that's, so all these things, these photo trails end up being longer than intended, and most people have just switched off or whatever by now. But yes, part of this is hoping anybody who says, oh, we can help you with property maintenance, whatever it is, requirements for that is plenty of common sense and sensible pricing. But the key thing is working efficiently. Yeah, the pond, that little bit of rain we've had has pretty well topped it up, and you'll see on the photo trails it had practically gone down to nothing due to a hole which is probably somewhere down in that corner. So that's job for the winter. Right, yes, all of this would have been seen before. Somewhere to put the bits and pieces, yes, when we're given presents like the 3 wise robins, love a duck, all these things. Somewhere to put them for the moment before we find where they go in the longer term. People often tell me where to stick things, but that's a separate thing. Right, so back into the house, and yeah, just a quick glance other rooms. So June's kitchen, yeah, she's getting changed at the moment, I think. Yeah, not much there. And a brief glimpse of my immaculate study, where I tend to do things, not a lot, and the lounge, including Robin's naughty corner, which he's got nice comfortable seating. So I think that's where we'll run into these long photo trails. So I'll go out through this door if I can safely. Run into those photo trails, and at the end there'll be some material that was shot, whatever it was, a year or two, 18 months ago, on 2 subjects. One, the rather important subject of global warming in the background, and the prophetic words of James Lovelock, and in short, you haven't seen anything yet. And the other one is my experiences with the DVLA, because I'm still not able to drive, don't have my driving license, and well, if you're interested, you can see it and look at the relevant information. So now into those long photo trails. Friday the 30th of August 2024, starting with a summary of the photo shot. Yes, that's Lady Michelle's pussycat relaxing in the lounge, and the robot boat got to an important stage after fixing the final problem on it, we hope, which is a diode having to be replaced, and took a little while to find it amongst my spares. Yeah, put a bit of insulation over it, bit of careful soldering, and put a bit of insulation tape around it, and fingers crossed it'll be okay. And there's Bentley and Terry, and we decide to go down and treat ourselves. Well, the most important thing was a little bit of time playing pool in the Comrades Club, and then back home. And yeah, the boat's still running there, ladies still relaxing in the kitchen now, and time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. And yes, there's the boat on test outside, all about checking voltages, which often reveal problems. And in fact, that problem was a diode that I'd blown, and that was probably weeks ago I did that. Oh yes, and got the test rig going on, charging up batteries and checking a servo to death. There was a glance of Toadie, our cat, just outside. What are you up to, Toadie? Probably looking for mice. So a few shots down the garden. Yes, the pond very low. I haven't bothered to top it up, or just hoping we may not have to wait until the winter before we fix any revealed holes in the pond. Yeah, a few shots down the garden. Yeah, checking the sundial. Yes, it's hidden by the roses in terms of the sun casting the shadow, but June's agreed to those to be cut back later in the year. Quick glance inside the laboratory. No real tidying up done yet, but coming round. Oh yes, sorry about that. Grumpy Old Men's Club. Me? No, surely not. So we're getting ready now to be able to put things in the right place, mostly clearing them out of games room and putting things so we know where to find them. Anybody knows where to find them. So, oh yes, that was fixed not that long ago, which is one of the bug palaces. And there's Toady. Now he's relaxing in a different spot in the back garden, not far from the greenhouse. And yeah, just a glance around the side of the house where we're keeping materials like bits of wood and stuff for the moment. And behind the dustbins, yeah, that's been there a while, that, including the cat forts. And what else have we got? Yeah, that was the most important activity in my mind, which is we've got the boat now on 24/7 test outside. Yes, that's the battle damage on the camper. I expect you to be wanting to take a trip in that sooner or later. That's the ring camera working on the front porch. And that's the new mat that June got with pussycat prints all over it. And yes, there's Lady Michelle's pussycat relaxing. There's my study, processing of the video from whatever that was. And there's those diodes I managed to find amongst. It won't matter now where to look. Hopefully that won't be so difficult in the future. Yeah, what do you think, lady? Is that the right component? I had to read very carefully until I found, yes, that is the product. So I've got a record of that, at least, if we did have to order more. There's lady found a new position as a lookout up high above those shelves with, well, just a place to put things for the moment. Eventually find their way elsewhere in the garden, I expect. Yes, the boat. And there's the diode ready to be put in. There's processing of whatever video. That was the late August 24 video. Yes, to go up onto YouTube. And yeah, phone call there. Yes, apparently we're going to have a second pub lunch the week. That was Stuart ringing up. So yeah, just checking my trackers. Anybody could then see where I was. That can be useful. Lady, that was a test rig for testing a servo to death. There's checking voltages on the boat. It's outside on test, coming up to midday, and I thought, right, rather than Stuart have to drive all the way around, I'll walk round. So off to the Duke of Edinburgh at Woodside. Enjoy our meal and conversations there. Yeah, just for a record what we're eating, I had the avocado pear with prawns. So that was it. And then coffee was going to be back at Richard's, but I popped in first to check a few things like emails and things. Yeah, the boat's still running there. Yes, lady's still relaxing. Had a quick look at the tracker. Yes, that's the one. Showed a trip to Woodside and the Duke of Edinburgh, and then back here. Yes, back here. Yes, that's that video. That looks as though that's up and live now with subtitles as well, so that's good. So that was the late August video. So up to Richard's for coffee. Oh yeah, and then Terry and I came back and looked at a few things, and oh yes, including that lovely tribute to John of photographs and things, and their contribution was the demonstration run in the Tesla video, which has been up on the website for quite a few years, and I showed him one or two other things that are up there. It's the women at the tennis club charging up another battery pack for the test rig for testing a servo to death. Check out what its reliability is. We're looking for at least 2 or 3 months. And yeah, oh yes, that diode needs to go into place, so I brought the boat inside for that. Bit of careful soldering, because usually that's when I end up creating a problem somewhere else, not just a pad soldered joint. Yes, splash solder, dear oh dear, naughty boy. Yes, put that in the bin. So check voltages. Yes, that looks correct now. Left hand side, right hand side, and the combined voltage after both diodes. Now we've got the extra diode in place. Take the boat outside, make sure it's securely in place so it won't get blown over by wind. Fingers crossed. Check the voltage, and yes, reported it. Women are back from tennis, and ladies relaxing in the lounge. Yeah, I made sure I updated the blog 11 so anybody interested in the details of progress on the boat could see, and often people help. They can see a problem and they say, how about that? And oh yes, lovely material has been added, including the Team Joker participation in the Robot Wars years ago on television. And it turns out that the video I contributed ran okay on smartphones and things. It was only on my Windows PC. It didn't seem to run on John's page. Yeah, so putting out some peanuts on the top bridge, just outside the back. Yeah, pond's low, just no change there. Oh yeah, Terry popped down. We decided we'd pop out in the evening, and went into the flame kebab. I had a burger, and Terry had eaten enough early in the day, I think. And then over to the Comrades Club, and a few games of pool. Yeah, enjoyable evening that was. Yeah, that was what was on the telly in there at the same time. So back home, and yes, a bit blurred, but the boat's still running on test. Ladies dozing in the kitchen. Yeah, the tracker shows anybody interested. Oh, Robin seems to have spent some time at the Comrades Club. Hello lady, time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Saturday the 31st of August 2024. Yes, that's Lady Michelle's Pussycat relaxing. And this is a summary first before we go into all the photos shot. Yeah, lady having a good relax. Sometimes on sentry duty, looking out the front window, keep an eye on the robot boat on 24/7 static test. Yeah, checking voltages, making sure that it copes. And yes, the tracker showed June on her way back from the shopping, and I did all the hard work of helping carrying the bags of shopping from the car, make sure I got the important stuff there. Yes, that gunner we got some years ago, I went into Magnetic Aquatics for the guy to give me a tip on where he'd seen it growing wild, but yeah, that was back end of the circuit TV, both live and for the night before. Foxes coming for the peanuts at the front and the back. And of course the boat is still working. Went out with a torch, yes, but the closed circuit TV shows the rudder. Did I say the rudder waggling? Down to the Comrades Club for a 0% Peroni and enjoying the atmosphere. And yeah, then back home. Yeah, June watching the tennis, lady with her in the kitchen. Anybody could see where Robin's been, including the Comrades Club. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. So starting in the lounge and looking at trackers, including the one that's in the boat. Anybody could look at that on the contact page. Look at the boat itself, check the voltages on the main power, 5.07, nice and healthy. then on the individual left and right. And it's all a question of leaving it running continually and seeing whether it copes with days of very little sunshine and of course night. It's all solar powered. Yes, look at all that junk. I did make a very small start in moving the stuff. That's obviously getting high on the priorities now. Looking at the few snaps around the garden, ponds low. Yes, that area there with odds and ends, patio that is. And yes, peanuts to be topped up on the bridge. There's lady relaxing in the lounge then. And there's June on the tracker. That's, anyone can see that one. And what else do we have? Yeah, just a few photos around the lounge. Oh yes, but those birthday cards, they've been out there for a rather long time, cluttering in the lounge. Yes, lady bit bored there in the lounge. Right, so I put a few more brushes in what seems to be the right place in the workshop area. And there's lady relaxing on the barbecue. Yes, there's the tracker. That showed June going out to the supermarket. And then I looked at the spare spot tracker that we were testing in the car. Again on the contact page, that seemed to be correct as well. I can see June moving. So she's come out of Tesco's and is on her way back. That worked quite well. Yes, there she is coming past the race course. Just leave it on and it updates I think it was every minute or two. Yeah, so would appear on the closed circuit TV, but by the time I walked out she was just arriving. So yes, there's the robot boat and there's all the shopping. There's June's tracker on her key ring. And I did all that hard work. Oh, terrible. You're having to carry the shopping through into the kitchen, dump it down on the floor. So June, helped by Samantha later, can put it away. And by then, looks like lady is in the kitchen. Yes, the gunnerer. That reminded me, I've been told some time ago, months ago, that there was some growing wild. It's a matter of knowing where it was, and it might be a nice place to take a walk. So we popped into Maidenhead Aquatics, and yes, there's the robot boat. Yes, there's their journey. And I was looking on Google Maps where the railway line, it was apparently visible, but I think I got it wrong, and unfortunately June was I thought it was east of us, but what I'd remembered wrongly I think was west of us, so that needs to be checked. All a question of putting things back in the right place or finding things. Yes, that's the test rig. Basically I charge up a battery and leave it running. I had a bit of a doze, I think that might have been for an hour or more, in the naughty corner near the closed circuit TV. Woke up. Yes, the camera reminded me that the peanuts need topping up. We are getting through a lot of those. That's on the feeder on the roof. Yeah, so that looks like a lunch taken in to the naughty corner. Yeah, so pigeons are coming for that. And then I thought, I wonder what birds, I was thinking of red kites, might like some meat. So there was some stuff left over. I think that was the coronation chicken. And without Jude looking, I put some other scraps of food there as well. Time for having an ice cream cornet. There's lady on sentry duty looking out the front, keeping an eye on the robot boat. I go out and check the voltages. And yes, you can always freeze frames if you're interested, but basically just monitoring whether the duplicated power system is doing its job properly. Right, that's the closed circuit TV check for the night before, running forward from midnight. Yes, foxes at the front and at the back after the peanuts. See, there are young foxes. It's a new generation of them. Through to the camera switch to 0510 GMT to colour for the day. So we're now running back from midnight. There's a young fox. Yes, peanuts. There's me getting back from the Comrades Club the night before, and there's foxes again caught by the PIR light going off as they went near it. Through till 1912 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night. So that's that done. And keep an eye on the boat. Yes, the rudder seems to be waggling as it should. I needed a torch to go out and to read the meter, checking the voltmeter. 4.69 main power, so it's dropped obviously, and there's the rudder waggling, so that's working good, seen on the closed circuit TV. There's lady relaxing. Yes, a different spot there on top of her little home that Saskia got for Michelle. And so what's going on there? Not a lot. Oh yes, I decided to take my walk down just for the exercise, of course, down to the village and into the Comrades Club, where I have my 0% Peroni and enjoy the atmosphere. You've got to be careful what photos you take, of course. And yeah, I popped over to double check when the Sorrentina was going to be opening again. I think it was the 2nd of September, if I've got it right, which will be tomorrow, Monday. And yeah, there's the pussycat lady. Yeah, check my tracker, confirm it's working. Anybody could have seen what I was up to. Yes, go to the contact page, click on that. Oh yes, looks like he spent some time in the Comrades Club and then visited Sorrentina briefly. Yes, and then back here. June's watching the tennis, time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Sunday the 1st of September 2024, starting with a summary. Yes, that's Toadie on her front lawn, probably keeping an eye on the robot boat under 24/7 static test, checking out his power and everything. Oh yes, our giant rhubarb is coming up, but not the new one, so I thought we'd get a bit of free advice and then take a trip out to IKEA to get some bits and pieces to help her tidying up. And then not much further from there, yes, Sweden and UK. Took a trip out to near Sunninghill, place we'd been before, near the canal, and had a lovely short walk, but the most important thing was the lovely chat to a guy there. Yes, there's young swans, there's his push bike, and we never saw his cat that was on television apparently, because it was a very large cat. Now that's a different cat, that's Sebi. On our way back we popped in to pick up Michelle from Gary and Saskia's and loading Michelle's junk in the back, and then back home past a few landmarks into Armitage Court, number 22, and yes, I had a very late lunch and checked the closed circuit TV. Yeah, foxes coming for peanuts at the front and the back. One stage we had 3 of them at the same time. June's watching tennis. So time for bed, that's the end of the summary. Now the photos in the order they were shot, starting in the back garden, coming up to 12:30 British summertime, which is 11:30 GMT, and yes, you can see that. There's the Gunra manticata, giant rhubarb, and yes, a little bit of paint could be used. I need to get some more of that. Yes, that's just showing you the state of stuff needs tidying up. So without hardener, I put a little bit more of that International Perfection paint on that guard of the solar panel at the front. Checking things out. Right. Yeah, including the trackers, like that's the spare Spot T2 tracker. And so we're off down the road, round the corner on the A30, past the Windmill Pub, into Lovelocks Barns and Maidenhead Aquatics. Bit of advice on where some Gunra manticata was seen wild. And yes, that's Lady Michelle's pussycat. Yes, there's us getting back, and that's our trip out. Yes, including me walking in there. Yes, Maidenhead Aquatics. That's on that tracker. And yeah, so the conversation we had, some of the giant rhubarb was seen on a train trip to Newbury Racecourse. There's lots of places there, but we thought, yeah, we'd take a trip out to IKEA, which is most of the way, and yes, need somewhere to put all that rubbish. I had a look on paper maps and trying to find out where might have been the good spot. There's lots of places where the railway rang earlier, and June, well, did a good job trying to find our old paper maps. They're quite torn and damaged, and half the problem was finding them. But we thought, yeah, that might be the right patch after our trip to IKEA. So we're off. Yes, through South Ascot, the Swinley pub, and yes, out past Heatherwood, and yes, Nike Centre, and get out on the motorway, the M4 going west, and get to IKEA. Yeah, it was quite a walk finding it, but we found what I was looking for, which are those containers that clip on those big white boards. Yes, there's the flags, and the large car park. Took a while finding a slot and not so much getting out. So then is the question, June's got her Ordnance Survey working okay on her smartphone, but it times out. Anyhow, we get to the spot that we have been before, a good few years ago now, and yes, the smartphone works quite well there. So there's the Ordnance Survey mapping, there's the spot where we stopped and parked, and then a little walk along the canal, and yes, near the lock. That obviously goes back a good few years. So we're walking along there, and and where those signals were, I had a lovely chat. You'll see a glimpse of him in a moment. Yes, I think that was Gordon, if I've got it right. Sorry, Gordon, if not. And what we're looking for, we didn't see it, was his cat that had been on television because it was so huge and been mistaken for a panther. Anyhow, we continued our walk a bit further, where we thought there was a footpath going across the canal. Didn't show up. Then we had some phone calls, and we decided, right, we'd go back via Gary and Saskia's and pick up Michelle, that had a few days out. So we're now making our way back across country, past a few places, and yeah, I don't know where they are without looking on a map. And Mortimer, yes, patches that I remember, well, in recent years, and also going back to my youth. And where are we now? Must be getting close to where they are. Yateley, yes, coming into Yateley, and yes, not far now, up that little lane and into their garden, and there's Sebby, their pussycat, and had a relax there for a little while. Yes, Michelle saying hello to Sebby. Yes, main purpose was to get a lift back. I had a quick look in the woods the other side of the road, lovely common land that is, and yeah, looks like we're on our way back. Yeah, leaving them. and the anchor in. Yeah, so there's the Ely. We're on the A30, past the Elephant of Camberley. Yes, past a few landmarks coming through Camberley, including Sandhurst Academy front. And where are we now? Still following the A30. Pennyhill Park. Lovely flowers there, coming into middle of Bagshot, and the Royal Residence, Bagshot Park, Archaeology Centre on the right, and there's the pub, the Cricketers, right off on the small roads over the Berkshire boundary into Armitage Court to number 22. Here's the robot boat there. It's on 24/7 static test, checking out things like its power system, whether it's able to cope. And yeah, that's the trackers showing where we'd been to IKEA, and then across, yeah, it was the River Kennet we were following, although it's a canal as well, if I'd got that right. And might even be called something like the Kennet and Avon Canal if I've got it right. Probably got it wrong. Yes, and back home here. That's it. So that tracker's working okay. Back here. Then I looked at the Spot T2 spare Satcoms tracker that we take in the car in order to test it, and it's a spare for if we break or lose the other one. And yeah, that showed air journeys there back home. That was working okay. And then a very late lunch. Basically stole a load of stuff out of the fridge. Enjoyed that in my naughty corner. And there's those things that I'd bought at IKEA. Now the question is, where do we put them? So I found a few spots in the workshop area. So at least I clipped them into position. And we'll gradually start putting stuff away. I say we, that'll be me, I think. Yeah, so a few shots out there. And yeah, rest of the garden, looking back towards the house, pond getting very low. Yeah, top up the peanuts, including at the front. Yes, that static rig working quite well to check the servo and checking voltages on the boat, which is left running on static test. Seems to be running okay. So I'm just putting the dustbins out. Watched by Toadie. And yes, getting later now. Had a bit of a doze for, don't know how long that was, might have been an hour even. Closed circuit TV check. And yeah, listen to the Radio 4 news. So that was running from midnight forward. There's foxes, all young foxes, another generation, coming for the peanuts on the front porch and the top bridge just out the back. And yeah, camera switched to 0507 GMT to colour for the day. So now running back from midnight. Same sort of pattern of foxes at the back there and at the front. At one point we had 3 young foxes. There's one. I came back from the Comrades Club, and there I am going to the Comrades Club. This is the day before. There's a glimpse of a bat going back through the day until it gets light. There we go. At 1903 GMT is when the camera switched to black and white for the night. So that's the end of that test done. There's live a fox coming for the peanuts, and he might have been a bit nervous because he's probably worried about a pussycat looking down at him. There's June watching the tennis. Time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Monday the 2nd of September 2024, starting with a summary. Yes, that's Lady on Michelle's cat on guard duty looking out the front window. And yeah, probably keep an eye on the robot boat. Yes, still got problems with that power. Trying different tests. It's basically on 24/7 test, static test, and I thought, right, I tried covering up the front solar panels and see how that performs. And in other words, we're just relying on the other ones. And at the back end of the day, Terry and I took a walk down to the village, a few words at La Sorrentina, and and then had a meal at the Duke. No photos there. And then back at the Sunninghill Comrades Club. Yes, game of pool or two, and then back to Robin's place for chatting, drinks and things. Yeah, so that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos, pretty well in the order they were shot. Yeah, the boat on, I call it 24/7 static test, all about measuring voltages. And I'm thinking, well, what happens if we just try and run it off the rear solar panels by covering the front ones? It was just a practical way of doing it with using old solar panels upside down. So that was left running like that and checking voltages every now and again. And yeah, there's lady Michelle's pussycat looking out the front window. Hello, lady. And yes, Michelle took a look at that old Maplin drill that hadn't been working, and that did actually find the problem with it. It's just a matter of whether we can fix it. And yeah, took a few photos down the garden, and we have the odd, well, barely call it a shower of rain, bit of dampness occasionally. Yes, and I starting to put things, even old clothes pegs, into the workshop area that we've got now. It's just a question of putting things in the right place, realising there's a lot of them. So gradually clearing up thing, and that container, somebody would call it Dad's stuff, so I put that out there as well. Yeah, time for another check of the boat voltages. And what else is there? Yeah, well, that was running at that stage. So what are we doing there? Yeah, keep finding extra sets of tools, so rearrange things so that all the same sort of tools are roughly in the same place. Yeah, there's a look at the pond, very low. I've just let that drop to see if it reveals it, and to do the job properly it'll probably be the winter months. And I saw looked as though water was coming through down there, round the back of the pond. But of course the vegetation makes it too difficult to track down exactly what's happening, but maybe that's the route out. Oh, pity about that. We didn't harvest those blackberries soon enough. They've all gone to seed pretty well. Yes, there's Toadie, probably hoping to catch a fish in the pond. Yes, that's what he's up to. So, found a few more spanners and things, moved them around, gradually clearing stuff. There's Michelle doing it, and she pointed out that one of those contacts, the 1 plus, was missing. So that had come out and got lost somewhere, and that was the reason that drill wasn't working. Oh yeah, back end of the day. So Tara and I take a walk down to the village, pop into Sorrentina for a minute or two, chat with them back from holiday, and yeah, Comrades Club, and back to Robin and June's place and Samantha's. Oh yeah, I shot that the next morning, which is just basically the track of where we went, including the Duke and the Comrades Club and back home. Yeah, so and time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Tuesday the 3rd of September 2024. Starting with this summary of the photos shot before we go into all the photos. Yes, there's Toadie relaxing, there's Lady, Michelle's pussycat, and there's Bentley from opposite, the senior guard cat, and there's the robot boat. And yes, more progress on that, and that included a trip out to Mantua Models to pick up some more batteries and some other scraps of brass which might be used to fix something. And yes, also popped into Bayfields and started the process of having my ears fixed. Yes, so basically after tests we decided to replace those solar panels at the back end of the boat, and there's Michelle doing some pruning, and then Terry and I took a lovely meal at La Sorrentina, enjoyed that before we went across to the Comrades Club to play games of pool and enjoy the atmosphere, and then came back and spent a bit of time at Air Place, joined by the Pussycat. So that's time for bed. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting with Toadie at the front of the garden where the robot boat was. And yes, it's been on 24/7 static test, and June and Samantha are playing tennis. I'm processing the video for the day before like I am for today's, and there the pond's low, just a few snaps around the garden. That's on the list of jobs to be done. It's all a matter of priorities and at the time of the year. There's Toadie relaxing in the back garden, and what's down there? Well, of course, I'm doing various things. Oh yes, I decided to lower that lamp or whatever you call it, and it wasn't too difficult job. It was used duct tape to do a temporary job on it, but don't know what temporary it'll be. Might be 5 or 10 years, I don't know. Yeah, so gradually clearing stuff, but main thing is putting things back in the same place, even though in longer term it'll be somewhere different. Top up the peanuts, including the peanut feeder that got very low, because lots of creatures like peanuts. And yes, that's keeping an eye on June and Samantha at tennis. I can see they're on their way back home. So yes, just checking that's updating, and we're here, so they'll be back home in a minute or two. In fact, by the time I walked out they got back. And yes, that's the tracker that June has, and I thought, it needs to be topped up, and so I had to find out the number first of all, but anyway I managed to do that, so that's one reason it won't stop. Yeah, so that's all working okay. Oh yes, decided to have a snack in the middle of the day. Had to rustle that up myself. Yes, now that's what's been going on for a long time now, which is checking voltages and identifying problems where you switch the boat on and leave it running until it stops basically, or confirms. Yeah, so fingers crossed that might be okay now. And oh yes, decided to get my ears sorted. They needed de-waxing. All these things are going on in parallel. Yeah, so some small changes of where things were in the workshop. There's Lady relaxing out the back. Hello Lady. And back onto the boat. Yes, a trip out. Wanted to going through the village first of all. Wanted to go over to Mantua Models, so just a few landmarks on the way, including the Bayfields, and in fact that's where we stopped first of all, and then carried on. Oh yes, got a nice call from Paul. Yeah, so into Mantua Models, got the one or two things I wanted there, basically couple of battery packs and these brass strips which I hoped I might better use to fix a 40 Maplin's battery drill. But yeah, so on their way back into Sunninghill, past the Courts Hall and the theatre, and then I had an appointment, so June dropped me off there and I had my appointment about the ears, and then back home. Yes, there's the robot boat. Yes, took the shopping out, and all to do with chargers and things like that. Oh yeah, looking at the tracker, you can see the journey we made, included into Mantua models. That's there. There's the street view picture, and Bayfield's opticians and audiologists, if that's how you pronounce it. Checking voltages on the boat. Yes, there's the battery packs, all down to charging things, checking voltages, and basically the left hand side of the system was dropping low, so I removed the batteries and checked those, but I ended up deciding that the voltage on the left hand side wasn't good, probably from those solar panels which hadn't been changed since I changed them first time, and perhaps might have been like the ones at the front. I ended up having to change them, so out with a kitchen knife, and fiddly job, but by the time you've actually removed them, the wires are broken off. That idea of putting resin on the back seemed a good one, but I noticed the same thing at the front. So in the end, resorted to brute force and ignorance to get the old panels off. The wiring was still good there, so put things back in the right place for the moment, and brought the boat inside so that I could easily solder the wires on the back. And in fact, I kept those duplicated diodes there as well, so it seems to have done the job. And then covered things with PVC tape, and then duct tape, and that was before, yeah, that's the close-up, made in China of course. And then it's a question of, yes, they go into place there, they seem to be the right sort of voltages, loads of silicon sealant needed. I'm probably doing the checking there. Yes, he said, well, it's still not. Oh yes, I didn't have the plastic covering removed from the front protecting them, so that's how they were shipped. And lots of silicon sealant, and press them down into place. Yes, put the silicon sealant back in the same place in the workshop area. Check the pack. I think that might have been the original pack, and it's all a question of it. It's easy to change that compared with solar panels. And switch it on. Seems to be working okay. Fingers crossed. There's Michelle doing a bit of pruning of roses, checking voltages now. And yes, I make a note of voltages and the time, so to see how it's dropping. Right, so there's Lady relaxing in another spot. Checking the Spot T, which is the tracker that's in Snoopy's boat, and yes, it shows his movement to the back of the house and then out the front. And then we suddenly noticed that Toadie had decided to go up and explore the back box unoccupied, and he did do that years ago, and it was. And there's Terry's come round because we're going to be going off. There's Bentley. So, and then yes, not many pictures, but lovely meal in the La Sorrentina, and yes, just for the record what we ate, and yes, cheesecake at the end, and tiramisu, I think that is, I can't be sure. Yeah, so away from La Sorrentina and across the road to the Sunninghill Comrades Club, and yes, whatever that was, I don't know, an hour or so, enjoyable pool, and back home, and yes, Toadie joins us, and Lady, time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Wednesday the 4th of September 2024. Starting with a summary of the photos shot before we go into the photos. So that's Lady, Michelle's pussycat, on guard duty looking out the front window. There's Bentley coming over for lunch. Yes, hello Bentley. And there's Toady prowling around the back garden on the lookout for mice. And yeah, the robot boat. And now it's all a question of testing it. And it was okay in the morning, but by the evening the voltage had dropped right off, so we still don't know what the problem is. Not enough power. Oh yes, delivery of the peanuts. Lovely guy with Jamaica roots. Oh, brought back some memories. Yes, and yeah, fixed one of their many Maplin clocks, changed the battery. Pub lunch, that was at the Duke of Edinburgh. Enjoyed the meal and the conversations, and then yeah, came back and coffee over at Richard and Faye's, and then down to the Bansals to join Michelle and June, who wanted to meet Romeo. Hello Romeo. And yes, their fence had been knocked again. And yeah, Terry and I played quite a lot of pool, and we also forced ourselves to go into La Sorrentina again. So that's getting at the back end of the day. Yeah, June's watching the tennis. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. Starting with Bentley coming over for lunch, I think that was. And yes, bit of processing of video from the day before, I think that was. And yeah, checking the boat, of course. And yeah, voltage was okay. Check, so the solar panels have changed at the back as well now. So that all seemed good. Good high voltages. Then the peanuts arrived, and yes, I congratulated the guy on his dreadlocks, but we had some a lovely few minutes remembering parties and things. Yes, I still got my dreadlocks there. Yeah, processing of the video for the day before, putting a commentary on it, like now. Then I noticed one of the Maplin clocks had stopped, and June said, oh yeah, you've got to press that red button after changing the battery. And it took a while, and it still hadn't reset, but it may be that the corrections come over the radio systems not so often. So later in the day it was fine. And yes, that's okay. So it's back up in the hall now. The hall? No, that one is in my study. Yes, so what next? Oh yes, check the other clocks as well, so you can see them. I haven't bothered to adjust them, but they're near enough. And yes, the tracker, that's working fine. And looks like the women are back from tennis. Checking trackers there, June's tracker. And right, so what's next? Ah yes, Stuart driving, and we're off to the Duke of Edinburgh. Little doggy there, one of the customers. So enjoyed our meal and conversations there. Yes, that was a bit of a laugh. And yeah, a few photos on the way back, including through the village. Bayfields, I had a visit the day before. And yeah, back home briefly. So before coffee I check a few things, like emails that had come in and other odds and ends. Only took a few minutes. Oh yes, there's the women at tennis. And there's my tracker. Anybody could have seen where I was, which was at the Duke of Edinburgh. There's Michelle and Toady prowling around the garden. Yeah, pond low. Yes, Michelle playing with Toady just for a change. So, what's next? Oh yeah, must have been joined and forgot. Those photos were shot very quickly. Right, now June and Michelle are off to the Bansals in the village, mostly to see Romeo, their doggy. And yes, so I can see them on their way. And yes, that's where I was sorting out the clock. That seems to be okay now. And also topped up the peanuts. Ferris feeders. The pigeons go through them very quickly during the day. And I noticed that one up on the roof needed topping up as well, so go up there. That's got a camera right near it. Oh yes, that's some of the wisteria, I think, that be cultivated. Yes, very untidy room upstairs. Lots of, but that's all June's clothes junk, I think. I've got enough of my junk downstairs to be cleared away. Right, there's the boat. Check the voltages. Yeah, they look good, nice and healthy, left and right. Duplicated solar power. So left running. And yeah, looks like I'm off down to join the bandsaw. So yes, leave lady guarding the house and looking out the front window. And yeah, down the road into the village, and into the bandsaws, and there's Romeo with Bal. Hello Romeo. And Michelle and June, and I like that motorbike guy, the gorilla. Yes, he's getting scolded for licking people too much. Oh yes, that was yeah, the work on that not sure what the machine was, cultivator I think. And yes, Romeo, that was the handbag that Saskia gave Michelle. Yeah, I'm on and doing work on the garden at the time while we were chatting. And right, so that's that corner fence, and it wasn't the guys who were doing removals nearby. Yes, so Terry and I have quite a lot of pull, and then we end up going into Sorrentina again, forcing ourselves quite late in the day that was. And then yes, I was turned in quite late. It was respectably before midnight though. Yes, there's the boat, and of course that stopped. I noticed stopped with the rudder hard over. So June's watching the tennis. Yes, I checked. Yeah, lots of movements backwards and forwards in the village. Yeah, yes, the voltage is very low on the boat, so don't know the reasons yet. So time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Thursday the 5th of September 2024. Starting with a summary of photos. And yes, that's the squirrel. One of the squirrels feeding on the peanuts. There's Toadie patrolling the front garden, and Bentley overseeing everything. Bentley from opposite, that is. And yes, one of the things is the robot boat they're keeping an eye on. Yes, still trying to find out why the power levels aren't quite what they should be. And Lady, Michelle's pussycat, who went back with Lady to Coventry and just managed to catch the train, including buying the tickets at Ascot Station, just round the corner. And what else? Yes, trains seem to be on time. Oh yes, I updated the graph on the COVID page, even though the interesting information is far beyond COVID. Closed circuit TV check at the end of the day, foxes and a mouse coming for the peanuts. And what else? Yeah, check the boat. June watching the news, I think that was. And so that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting with looking out the window, could see that little squirrel. Well, not that little, is he? Or she. And yes, that's the top bridge just outside game stream window. And oh yes, yes, we had problems with the system trying to, the system at TalkTalk had lost the information about transactions So anyhow, that was an interesting exercise to say the least. Checking voltages on the boat, the duplicated solar power, and it's still not what it should be in terms of keeping levels, so I've still got to check out why that is. There's a 24/7 test of destruction based on just swapping the battery into a autopilot and checking a servo. Ah yes, olive oil in the ears. That was something which I need to do before to having my ears vacuumed out. And yes, we had a bit of rain coming through, which added water to the pond, and all of a sudden the pump started working again. So I looked at the rain radar websites, and including the Met Office, because rain affects what you do during the day. Yes, and we did have a heavy shower come through, and that caused, I think it was what caused the power cut. There's a question of where it was, but don't know. Water got in somewhere. And yes, June's watching tennis there, I think. There's Bentley coming across from opposite, checking voltages on the individual duplicated left hand side and right hand side solar arrays. Yeah, it's not right. Don't know. There's Bentley up to mischief, I expect. Yeah, so oh yes, that shows you the puddle. That's a job to be done sometime. Clearing the silt out of the soakaway drain. There's Lady coming in from outside. There's Toady. There's Bentley coming over. Toady and Bentley looking at each other. They decide whether to do a bit of play fighting. Bentley usually just puts up with anything. There's Lady. And got to go in her little travel box. And yes, yes, there's a bit more detail later, but it took about a quarter of a minute for me to get in the back, but Michelle was in such a panic, she could say we're late. But anyhow, yes, the train was on time, and she caught the train off to Coventry, and we got a message back later and say that she'd got there okay. So a few snaps coming back home. And what else do we have? Looked at the clothes. Oh yes. Oh dear. Yes, Michelle created a fuss and saying, "No, you'll hold us up." Where it took me, you could look at the timestamps on the photos. But at the end of the day, yes, she caught her train okay, and the delay wasn't due to me. It was about 15 seconds due to me and about 3 minutes due to her. And I got a message to say that they oh yes, I sent a message out on the family group. Had a bit of a doze, woke up, could see pigeons after the peanuts. Yes, COVID graph. I call it COVID graph. It's total deaths, and indicates all sorts of problems, including with the NHS. Yeah, that's looking at the tracker. Yes, anybody could have seen the visit to the station. And yeah, and then back here. And look at the spare Satcom's tracker, Spot T2, which we're testing in the car. That's, you just about see it through the window. And then the boat, that's the Spot Satcom's tracker that's in the boat. And yes, it's a few yards out, but that's pretty well good. Closed circuit TV checks. And yeah, there's a fox coming for the peanuts at the front with the bird feeder. Two foxes there. And there's a bat. Got a glimpse of a bat flying past one of the cameras. And a fox coming to the top bridge. And there's at the front. These aren't all the visits, but they're representative. And through till 05:36 GMT when the camera switched to colour for the day, so now going backwards. And there's there's a little mouse coming for the bird feeder that I put up high for the birds who come to the peanuts on the front porch, because if they're on the ground they're they're at risk of being caught by a cat. Yes, that's me getting back from the Comrades Club I was at. 1856 was GMT, was when the camera switched to black and white for the night. So a snap or two outside of the boat, solar light, June watching the news, time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. I warned you they would be long photo trails. So now, to go into that material that was shot a little while ago, go into the hall. Yes, here we go, can't see that probably. And I think the material started from about here. Now what I put on the screen, because global warming is rearing itself, it's something that's been on my grumpy page for years. The remarkable James Lovelock, who passed away on the 26th of July, his 103rd birthday. I'll read out what this says here. This has been on the grumpy page for years, not long after the publication of his book, Revenge of Gaia. We can't stop global warming, but we may delay it by a few decades to give us time to prepare for its effects. Vast areas of the world, including as close as continental Europe, becoming arid desert, shrinking of habitable areas of the planet to much smaller parts of the planet, closer to the poles. The Earth will then only be able to support a small fraction of its present population, and there will be a need for massive migration. Places like the UK will remain temperate a little longer, so be an attractive destination. We need all world governments to cooperate to prepare for this inevitability. Also to agree things like reduce use of fossil fuels to give us a few more decades to prepare. And then it goes on. The above is not a quote, but how I remember what James Lovelock said in his book, The Revenge of Gaia, etc. That's been unchanged on my site for years. And right, well, the other thing I should mention, yes, retired, happy and spending that kid's inheritance, is for some time now I've not been able to drive due to, well, several mistakes at the DVLA. And what I will say is that I have new evidence of what happened inside the DVLA, which I won't publish yet, because I'm still waiting for the reply to the letter which was delivered by recorded delivery to the head of the DVLA and also other people. So I'll put in at the end of this long video the video that's gone up, me talking about the DVLA, and basically in summary it says I don't want anybody to get into trouble, and that is definitely the case, and resigning is too easy. Problems need to be fixed. But quite honestly, that is a minor thing compared with all the other things that are going on in the world, not least wars, and of course what's in the background and very important is global warming. So let's run into that. Back in 2012.
Has seen the launch of a transatlantic sailing attempt this morning in a model boat. Retired NATO scientist Robin Lovelock launched his Snoop Loop from Barton-on-Sea towards the Bahamas. It's already been tested over 5,000 miles on a lake in Berkshire. The model will be steered and tracked through a satellite system and by Snoopy, of course, and it should make the crossing in 6 months, if it survives, that is.
The most important thing of the lot, of course, is Snoopy the Viking, the skipper. I don't think he'd make it otherwise. We've also got another bit and piece here. This is a GPS logger that logs the position every 15 minutes.
That was back in 2012. The guy that put this material together, including the live broadcast and what went up on the BBC website, is Ben Moore.
I just worry for Snoopy. Sport now and Hampshire.
Right, on to the next topic. Right. Now, I'm going to do this all in one take. All unrehearsed and unscripted, so sorry about that. What I'd like to happen, if anybody picks up on the DVLA story, is as I say, nobody getting into trouble, and that's a genuine request. But when they find flaws in procedures where they don't cover certain things, be good if those are fixed. What I think would be useful for anybody looking at the DVLA and perhaps helping them is, first of all, their organisation chart showing the structure. Yes, it's well known who the head of the DVLA, remarkable woman, looking at her CV, and relevant to this story is the head of the health part. But it would be very useful to see, even if names aren't attached, obviously the names can be attached where they're public already, is how many people in each branch, how many people are reporting to how many. So a simple tree would help. I suggest that first of all. Then, perhaps even more important, is how many people working for the DVLA, even if you don't identify the individuals, are salaried by the DVLA excuse me, directly, as opposed to contracted through an agency or a business. That is very important, and we've seen what's been happening in places like the NHS for years. So that comes into the equation in terms of whether money is well spent, and of course the DVLA collects a lot of money, and there are probably other things as well, but as a starting point, I'd hope anybody that responds to this, I can't afford to get overloaded, we've got other things to do, many other things to do, and we'll be taking a holiday. That'll be public, yes. I'm tracked everywhere by different things, and in fact, if anybody's paranoid about it, anybody who's tracking somebody or looking at somebody's probably seen already. But at the end of the day, there's me wittering on, which is one of my main weaknesses since I was a little child. That's why if you put things up, clearly be careful what you put up, and often it can do some good. I'm now in the kitchen, and June's rustling up some food in the microwave for Samantha, and here's Samantha, and of course there's tennis on the television, just for a change. So, oh yes, point out, holidays in we're going off to Sicily again soon, and into the hall. Yes, nice expensive paintings here. Yep, expensive little pocket camera, not expensive. And through into the lounge and out to wrap up this video by saying, look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy what days we have. Yes, it's now middle of March 2024, and the pond's changed quite a bit. I'll have to change the copyright statement at the end, but the message is the same. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy life while we can. Oh yeah, my hair's grown a bit since then.